When is Skynet?
I don't know.
Does Charlie know?
Always 9 p.m. Saturday on 146.88. Duh.
W5FC. Afterglow Movie Net, Saturday, 10:30 p.m., W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use a repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda, and I'll be your net control for this station of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break break. And your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-in CO Echolink are also possible using the W5 FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. Go to w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1. General announcements. 2. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. 3. National Space Society events. 4. Discussion topic of the evening. 5. What's up? 6. Space exploration and space history. 7. Constellation of the week. 8. Space launches of the week. 9. Recent astronomical discoveries. 10. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 11. Astronomical Q&A, and 12. 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So we're going to start with low power and short time check-ins. We want your name, or your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Please come now.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Papa, Lima, Huey, Richardson.
Kilo, Golf 5, Uniform, Foxtrot, Romeo, Jacob, Farmers Branch, low power.
Okay, we got Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Lima, Huey, and Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot, Romeo, Jake. All right, let's go for general check-ins.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, Mesquite.
November 5, Bravo, Bill in Irving.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo India 5, Uniform, Juliet, Dustin, and Dallas.
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John in Coppell.
Whiskey Foxtrot 5, Delta, Romeo Delta, Dennis in Flower Mound.
Kilo India 5, Victor November Bravo, Jeff Little Round.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey, Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu Whiskey, J near Weber.
This is Whiskey, Bravo, number 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India, WB4, MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
Kilo Echo 5, India, Charlie, X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
Charlie, India, Golf. And I'm Daniel, and I'm in Irving.
Kilo, India 5, Sierra, Delta, Sierra, Jeff, Richardson.
All right, let's pick those up. That's a goodly number. Got KF5JHA, Chaz, N5BB, Bill, NT5TM, Tony, KF5ZBL, Bill, KI5UUJ, Dustin, K5JDW, John, KF5DRD, Dennis, KI5 Victor, November Bravo, Justin, KG5WVL, James, KG5BZW, Jay, WB4MFI, Ted, KE5ICX, Tom, K9CIG, Daniel, KI5SDS, Jeff. All right, do we have anybody on Echolink? Okay, well, let's just take some more general check-ins then. Please come now.
Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel Mobile, Richardson.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
KAA5 Alpha Hotel, I didn't catch your name, please.
Yeah, it's Robert and Richardson, AA5AH.
Thank you. And KB9SOK Sean. All right, well, we'll pick up some more check-ins in a bit. Let's go ahead with general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please come now with those.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
NT5TM. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Brenda. 1 week from today, we'll be having the September lecture in lab. We'll be building a Morse code key kit. This is a 3D printed Morse code key with an oscillator attached. You can use it to perfect your Morse code skills. I believe the kit cost is $25. No need to sign up. Just come on out and join us at the Dallas Medical Center, northeast corner of Webb Chapel and LBJ. Probably from 10 to 2, but the details will be at w5fc.org. If you're looking for something that is, well, differently fun and coming up a lot sooner, you could join us for the Afterglow movie discussion tonight. We'll be talking about the Irwin Allen monster film, The Lost World from 1960. It's in color, and it didn't actually last forever. I think those are its two main redeeming features. We'll be talking about that exciting cinematic opus tonight at 10:30 or so on this repeater. We may be a few minutes late if we need a break after this net. Tomorrow we have the meeting on the air at 7 p.m. and the races training at 8 p.m. And on Monday, we have the ham fixins net, second helping on this repeater at 7. And finally, please remember that Turkey Trot is coming up on Thanksgiving Day. This is a fun public service event the Dallas Amateur Radio Club participates in to support the Dallas Area YMCA. You can sign up at w5fc.org. Yeah, I know, it's a long way to Thanksgiving, but your signing up now makes things a lot easier for Guy and Randy to plan the event. So go over to w5fc.org and sign up for Turkey Trot if you plan to participate. So I hope to hear your moans and groans tonight on the Afterglow Movie Net, hear your joys and celebrations tomorrow for the meeting on the air, and maybe you can come out and join us at the lecture lab too. NT5TM.
Thank you, Tony, although I do think that movie did last forever. Okay, other announcements on nets. The AMSAT, Radio Amateur Satellite Group, has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central. You'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website, amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston. Dallas AMSAT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, Tuesdays. Tom, N5HYP, is net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is DARC Club Night. No AMSAT East that night. Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, positive offset. So here's some more DARC hosted nets. On Mondays, the first week is Ham Fixins. Second week is MCOM 101. Third week, another Ham Fixins. Fourth week, GeekNet. Fifth week, SurpriseNet. And if we told you what it was, it wouldn't be a surprise. Owner participation is encouraged. Tuesdays, AMSAT East, 8 p.m. Fridays, Search City simulation at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. CERT City, all are welcome. Saturdays, TechNet, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., and, of course, Skynet. First and third Sundays, at Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. That's MODA. And every day, the ARRL net, the National Traffic System Training Net, every night at 6:30 p.m. Central. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. So, tonight's Afterglow info. The Cannibal Guide looked at the hapless bunch. They weren't the sparse bunch in the world. You know what? I think I'm going to change direction here. KE5ICX, would you like to read this to us?
Well, Brenda, I'll be happy to do so. You did pick the movie, but I did write the thing, so I will. Here we go. The Cannibal Guide looked at the hapless bunch. They weren't the smartest bunch in the world. Professor Challenger was an anthropologist for London's most dangerous petting zoo. He needed a small animal which could devour a small child up to the age of 7. Ed Malone, newsman, was out looking for Bat Boy, whom he'd created for his newspaper. He needed a real Bat Boy, and he needed him now. Others were along. They'd paid their $50, which had included lunch. The Cannibal Guide stopped and looked at the clueless bunch. He spoke. Okay, we'll take a break for lunch. Go stand over there. What they didn't know was it wasn't lunch for them. They were lunch. Join us for the master of disaster, Irwin Allen's famous The Lost World from 1960 tonight at 10:30 p.m. Back to you, Brenda, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. I had Tom read that because Tom wrote that, so I didn't want to have any blame for it. Okay, next up, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. I'm going to call on Chaz, KF5JHA, to tell us what's going on there.
Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. I'm a little bit distracted. There's something on TV that I'm doing. I don't know. Something that involves the Ohio State University. 70-21. They're playing Toledo. Okay, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, September 23rd. I think that's in 6 days. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is Dr. Bharat Ratara, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, from Kansas State. And his topic will be, let me take a deep breath, the accelerating, expanding universe, dark matter, dark energy, and Einstein's cosmological constant. Now, the Saturday public observing sessions have also begun again. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so that there would be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society public observing stations. I'm not sure if there's one going on tonight. If there is, would somebody from that observing station like to report in? Come down with your call sign if you'd like. I'm not hearing anything. I'm going to call up on somebody else. Huey, PLL, hey, go ahead. You've got something you want to announce.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow stargazers. My name's Hugh Stevens, and I am one of two public outreach coordinators for the Texas Astronomical Society. On Saturday, September 24th, at our dark sky site in the state of Oklahoma, we will be having a mid-afternoon picnic, demonstrations, followed by a Messier Marathon ghost hunt. If you're not already a member of the Texas Astronomical Society, you can join online and come up and participate in the revelry. We're going to have sheep shearing followed by goat roping. So there will be professional masseuses on site for your enjoyment. All we ask is that you pay your membership fee and you bring a potluck dish. Additionally, we have a bunkhouse outfitted with 16 bunks. And I gotta say, the heating and air conditioning is outstanding. Does anybody need a fill? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Taking that as a no, back to net, KFI-PLL.
Thank you, Huey. Okay, if you want more information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, go to their website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing stations, how to buy binoculars, telescopes, all sorts of stuff on there. Okay, back to our net control. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, Chaz. Next up, National Space Society events and activities. N5BB. Bill, would you please fill us in on that?
Oh, thank you, Brenda. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. Our regular membership meetings are on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. So our last meeting was this previous Sunday, September the 11th, and our topic was the Sophia Airborne Infrared Observatory, which is built into a 747 aircraft. It was actually all put together at the what now is the L3 Harris
Integrated Systems Division in Waco, Texas. And I actually saw that airplane and walked into it before they added the German telescope to the airplane. They were just starting to modify the airplane back about, 20 years ago. Anyway, our speaker was MJ Tchaikovsky. She teaches at science courses at Wiley High School. And she had a very interesting presentation about at our meeting about the Sophia Airborne Observatory, and she got to fly on it, which was really interesting. She had pictures, and she had all kinds of discussions about what it was like to be in it, when it was flying, and how the missions were like. So this was, a real hands-on kind of meeting with somebody that had been there. It's kind of like talking to an astronaut about being on a spacecraft. Well, she was a member of that mission. In fact, she did something. They got her to time some things, so she was actually helping with some they were testing some control system thing, and she was assisting them with testing that. So that was an interesting meeting. I do not know the topic of our next meeting, which will be the second Sunday of October, which is October the 9th, Sunday afternoon at 3:30 in Irving at the Spring Creek Barbecue, 183 in Beltline. I think it will be a speaker from either NASA or a university talking about some space topic, but I don't know the specific topic at this meeting at this time. If you have any questions about National Space Society, or you want to join our chapter or the National Space Society in general, please contact me. You can send me an email at n5bb@arrl.net or at space@byrom.net. SPACE@BYROM.net. Today, this weekend, I should say, there is an event going on, which is the FinCon, the 18th FinCon at the DFW Airport Sheraton Hotel. And there's actually this evening a suite, kind of a party suite, which is being funded by National Space Society. I'm not there, but other members of our local chapter are there to talk to people about space. This is kind of a sci-fi kind of convention, FinCon, FENCON, and it's the 18th version, 18th FinCon here. It's a Dallas event. That's all the immediate things happening. The big event is going to be at the end of May 2023 here, coming up in like 7 months or so. And that will be the International Space Development Conference, ISDC 2023. It will be in Frisco, Texas, right north of us here. And so you'll be able to see all kinds of space luminaries. There's typically people there working on space settlement on the moon and Mars, about various kinds of missions and telescopes and things. The featured speaker, keynote speaker at the 2022 ISDC, which was in a suburb of Washington, D.C., I was there, was the key person responsible for the Mars Ingenuity helicopter. So we got to have lunch with him in person and talk about things and everything. So it's a convention which is large enough to have interesting people there, but it's not so large that you can't sit down and have lunch with some interesting person. So it's a very neat event. So if you want to be there, there's usually big discounts if you're a National Space Society member. So it's a good time to join the National Space Society. Very good time. Again, contact me and I can help you. That's everything I've got now in 5BB. Thank you.
very much, Bill. All right, let's pause for more check-ins. Please come down with your call sign and your name and city.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay, Emma Street.
Okay, we have November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay. Thank you for joining the net tonight. Okay, next up, discussion topic of the evening, and that would be me. Going to talk about how do planets get rings. It's hard to imagine Saturn without rings, yet that's exactly what it will be roughly 100 billion years from now, a short time span for a planet born 4.6 billion years ago. Recent research and measurements taken by NASA's Cassini spacecraft have revealed that the ring material, which is mostly water ice, is being gradually pulled into Saturn. Eventually, there will be almost nothing left. To think that Saturn's iconic ring, which spanned the length of 27 Earths, would vanish in a cosmic blip is yet another reminder that our solar system is a dynamic place. By the time Saturn becomes a pale, hazy, brown, ringless orb, another planet will have adorned a cosmic crown of its own. Will Mars ever have a ring? Sometime between 30 to 50 million years from now, Mars's gravity will break apart its closest moon, Phobos. Its fragments will encircle the red planet as rings. Remarkably, this isn't the first time such an event would have transpired on Mars. A large asteroid or comet may have impacted the planet shortly after our solar system's formation, with the resulting orbital debris becoming rings and eventually clumping into smaller moons. Scientists think Mars's gravity ripped the innermost ring, moon, into rings again at some point, so Phobos might just be the latest product of such an ongoing ring-moon cycle. How and when did Saturn's rings form? It's possible the Saturnian rings formed during or around the time dinosaurs ruled planet Earth. For a long time, scientists thought Saturn's rings were simply leftover material from the planet's birth 4.6 billion years ago, but recent measurements from Cassini have challenged this assumption. When the Cassini spacecraft made a number of passes between Saturn and its rings during the mission's grand finale in 2017, it allowed scientists to carefully infer the mass of the rings based on how gently the spacecraft was pulled toward them. It turned out the rings lay way less than Saturn's small moon Mimas, too low for them being ancient structures formed alongside such a giant planet. Combined with the fact that the rings are still bright and haven't darkened over time due to incessant space weathering, scientists estimate their age to be less than 100 million years. Scientists think that Saturn's rings formed either from a moon getting too close and breaking apart or from collisions of multiple small icy moons. How are other planets' rings created? Our solar system is host to several other unique ring types. Jupiter's fake ring is made entirely of dust particles hurled up into orbit by micrometeorites impacting the planet's small inner moons. Saturn's faint and diffuse Phoebe ring is also formed from particles ejected from the namesake moon. Neptune's outermost ring isn't even a ring, but 5 distinct arcs, whose particles are probably kept from spreading out due to the gravitational pull of the ring moon Galatea. Some rings are mysterious. For example, two of the outermost Uranian rings are red and blue, indicating a composition unlike that of the planet's inner gray rings, as well as that of the Saturnian set. The largest Uranus ring, Epsilon, is tens to hundreds of times narrower than those of Saturn, and we don't know why. In 2014, astronomers discovered a planet outside of our solar system that appears to have rings 200 times wider than Saturn's. At 180 million kilometers across, the rings of this super Saturn, officially named J1407b, span wider than the Sun-Earth distance of 150 million kilometers, or about 93 million miles. On the opposite end of the size spectrum, there are two rings of 10199 Characterization, a roughly 200 kilometer-sized object orbiting our sun between Saturn and Uranus. How do these colossal and tiny rings form? We've yet to find out. Future exploration of our solar system's rings. The answers as to why the giant planets Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune don't have as majestic a set of rings as Saturn, at least in the present, ultimately lie in grasping how rings form, evolve, and in some cases disappear. Sending a spacecraft to excavate chunks from Saturn's rings and measure their exact composition, and ideally even bring samples to Earth, would anchor the age and origin of Saturn's rings. Likewise, figuring out how Phobos formed would tell scientists if it really is part of an ongoing ring-moon cycle at Mars. While no mission is being planned to study Saturn's rings, Japan's Martian Moons Exploration Mission, or MMX, will study Phobos and bring samples from it to Earth to help scientists ascertain its age and formation. The 2023 to 2032 Planetary Science Decadal Survey, a report produced every 10 years by the U.S. scientific community to guide future NASA missions, recommends sending a spacecraft to Uranus as the highest priority. One of the four major scientific objectives of this Uranus Orbiter and Probe, UOP, mission is to understand the composition, origin, mechanics, and history of the planet's rings. In the meantime, the recently launched JWST Space Telescope will observe rings of all the giant planets to spot previously known features and help scientists better gauge how they evolve. The majestic rings of Saturn will wane over time, losing chunks and bits to the planet, all while darkening like soil on our moon. Even so, Saturn's tiny icy moon, Enceladus, will still be erupting water plumes into space to keep the planet's diffuse E-ring alive. All right, do we have any more check-ins now? Okay, next up is
Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-ray, Kelly in Quinlan.
Give his report. Thank you, Chaz.
Brenda, you doubled with Kelly. I think she was trying to check in. I'll leave it back up to you, Brenda.
I'm so sorry, K5KTX. Kelly, I did not hear you as we doubled. Welcome to the net. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. And Kelly, we've got you checked in now. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degrees in astrophysics. I work at the astrophysics labs and geology labs at the Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus, and we call this segment of Skynet What's Up. Slide Master, slide number 2, please. Today, on September the 17th, the third quarter moon is occurring. Actually, it was earlier today. The September the 19th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 404,556 kilometers. New moon will be held on September the 25th. I don't know if it'll be held on it, but it will occur on that date. First quarter moon is on October the 2nd. On October the 4th, the moon will be at perigee, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 369,325 kilometers. Slide master, slide number 3, please. I've been distracted because of something on TV about Ohio State and Toledo. 77-21. The game just ended. Okay, let me see. Where was I? Oh, slide number 3. This morning, early this morning, September 17th, the moon and Mars was in conjunction in the eastern sky. And again, it was just after midnight when it was up, and you could see it all the rest of the early morning sky. Slide master, slide number 4. September the 22nd is the autumnal equinox. The autumnal equinox occurs at 8:04 p.m. Central Daylight Time on that date. The sun will shine directly overhead on the equator, and there will be equal amounts of day and night throughout the entire world. This is also the first day of fall, autumnal equinox, in the northern hemisphere, and the first day of spring, vernal equinox, in the southern hemisphere. And on this day, the sun rises east and sets west everywhere on the Earth. You know, it doesn't do that all the time. Slide master, slide number 5, please. On September 26th, the two inner planets in our solar system, Mercury and Venus, will be in conjunction in the early morning eastern sky. It's going to be strong twilight. I've been watching Venus in the morning sky through strong twilight for the last week, 10 days or so. So you'll need probably binoculars to pull out both of them. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide number 6, please. Once again, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, September 23rd. That's in 6 days. And the meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person, and also that's at the University of Texas, Dallas, but it'll also be held on Zoom. Let's see now. Check the website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observation stations and much more. Slide master, slide number 7. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Okay, so as the moon is waning, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live, at least right now. Until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5, JHA, back to our net control. Brenda, it's all back to you.
Oh, thank you, Chaz. All right, next up is space exploration news. And these items were provided by Tom K5ICX, but I'm going to read them. First up, NASA requests proposals for second moon lander for Artemis astronauts. The space agency is working to establish a long-term human presence on and around the moon by the end of the 2020s via a program called Artemis. In 2021, NASA announced that it had selected SpaceX's Starship as the lander for the program's first crewed surface mission, Artemis 3, which is scheduled to touch down near the lunar South Pole in 2025 or 2026. In March of this year, agency officials said they plan to encourage the development of a second crewed lander for Artemis to provide redundancy and resiliency for the program. That plan became official on September 16th when NASA issued a call for proposals from private companies. A massive solar flare knocked out, Next item, massive solar flare knocked out radio in Africa and the Middle East on Friday. The solar flare, classified as M8 in the second most energetic category of flares, departed from the sun at 5:49 a.m. EDT on Friday, disrupting shortwave radio communications in the sun-facing parts of the world. According to spaceweather.com, amateur radio operators in Africa and the Middle East could have experienced signal distortion for up to 1 hour after the flare. The UK Space Weather Forecaster Met Office predicts there is a chance of further flares today before the sunspot AR3098 disappears behind the sun's limb. That's the edge of the sun's visible disk. Space weather forecasters think a coronal mass ejection, or CME, a burst of charged plasma from the sun's upper atmosphere, the corona, may have accompanied the flare and might be headed toward Earth. If so, the planet might experience a geomagnetic storm later in the weekend, the Met Office said in a statement. China tests new engine for huge Long March 9 moon rocket. Chinese engineers have conducted a successful hot fire test of a new powerful engine for the nation's planned super heavy lift rocket for moon missions. The closed-cycle rocket engine uses liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen for propellant and can generate 25 tons of thrust, making it one of the most powerful such engines ever made, according to the engine's developer. The engine was developed by an institute specializing in liquid propulsion under the ownership of the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, China's state-owned main space contractor. Next up, birthdays. We had a ton of them this week. Start with Robert Crippen, September 11th, 1937. He flew on STS-1, 7, 41C, and 41G. Randolph Bresnik, September 11th, 1967. Flew STS-129 and Soyuz MS-05 Expedition 5253. Anusha Ansari was born on September 12th, 1966. She flew on Soyuz TMA-9/8. Roger Crouch, September 12th, 1940, STS-83 and 94. John Harrington, September 14th, 1958, STS-113. Eugene H. Tren, September 14th, 1950, STS-50. Warren Hoberg, September 16th, 1985, SpaceX Crew 6, Expedition 6869. Kevin R. Kriegel, September 16th, 1956, flew on STS-70, 78, 87, and 99. Samuel T. Durantz, September 17th, 1943, STS-35, 67, and 61E. Pamela Melroy, September 17th, 1961, STS-92, 112, and 120. Thomas P. Stafford, September 17th, 1930, Gemini 6A, Gemini 9A, Apollo 10, Apollo Soyuz Test Project. Edgar Mitchell, September 17th, 1930, flew on Apollo 14. And this week in space history, September 15th, 2017, the Cassini spacecraft ends its mission when it crashed into the surface and we lost our contact. Cassini's 12 science instruments were designed to carry out sophisticated scientific studies of Saturn, from collecting data in multiple regions of the electromagnetic spectrum to study dust particles to characterizing Saturn's plasma environment and magnetosphere. September 14th, 2006, Xena is renamed. The International Astronomical Union, that's IAU, announced that the dwarf planet previously known as Xena would be named Eris after the Greek goddess of discord. And finally, September 12, 1962, President Kennedy addressed a large crowd at Rice University in Houston during a 2-day tour of space facilities across the country. During the speech, the president recommitted the nation to the moon landing goal he proposed to Congress in May of 1961. In the intervening 16 months, NASA made rapid and significant progress toward achieving that goal. The agency established new field centers, started new space flight programs, and began designing, building, and testing some of the hardware that led to the fulfillment of President Kennedy's goal, the first human moon landing in July of 1969. Impressed by the progress he saw during his 2-day tour, the president felt confident to recommit the nation to the moon landing goal. Okay, any new check-ins? Okay, once again, we're going to call on Chaz, KF5JHA, to present Ms. Carolyn's Constellation of the Week.
Thank you, Brenda. You know, it's always dangerous when you call on me. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. In her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellations of the week this week are Vulpecula, the Little Fox, and Sagitta or Sagitta, the Arrow. And now, slide number 10. This is what you all have been waiting for all evening long so far. How can you tell if an arrow is nervous? If it quivers? Why does the arrow on the computer screen use a lot of profanity? Because it's a cursor. Oh, come on, I heard you laughing at that one. Oh, yeah, thank you. Very good. JJ's gotten both of them so far. Okay. How do you improve your archery? With better aerodynamics. All right, let's switch to fox jokes. Okay, here we go. I'm laughing at what's going on over at Echolink. Why do foxes hunt rabbits? Because they're in the mood for fast food. Why was the fox stuck in the past? Because it was a 20th century fox. If you don't understand movies, you're not going to get that one. Okay. Where did the fox go to buy a new tail? To the retail store. And this is KF5JHA if you liked it. If not, I can blame somebody else. Yeah, okay. Slide number 11, please. Sagitta, or Sagitta, is the constellation that's been described as an arrow since ancient times by various cultures. The arrow itself is linked with various myths, but the most often cited one is the arrow that Hercules used to kill the eagle sent by Zeus to torture Prometheus for giving the gift of fire to man. Interesting. Slide number 12, please. Sham. The name Sham is derived from the Arabic al-Sham, or al-Aslam, which means the arrow. Although Sham is designated as Alpha Sagitta, or Sagitta. I'm trying to use the genitive, it's not working out. It's actually the third brightest star in the constellation at magnitude 4.4. The brightest star is Gamma at a magnitude of 3.5. Gamma is the star that forms the arrow's head. Cham is the other end of the arrow, forming part of the arrow's fletchings, or feathers. Slide number 13, please. M71 is generally considered to be a globular cluster today, though for decades there was controversy over whether it was a dense open cluster or a loose globular cluster. Binoculars M71 can be carefully picked out of the Milky Way background as a small, faint glow. Slide number 14, please. NGC 6886 is a planetary nebula. It's one of those mini planetaries that are so small that they look like stars until you really crank up the magnification. Large aperture helps, like Dave Hutchinson's 16-inch Dobsonian. Ooh, I've got one of those. With his scope, Dave writes that he is fairly confident that he has found it. At 300 power, it appears to be non-stellar. Must be good observing night with 300 power working. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 15. The constellation of Vulpecula, the fox, was originally created in the year 1687 by the Polish astronomer to fill some space in between Cygnus and the Arrow. If you arrange the 88 constellations alphabetically, Vulpecula is the very last on the list, so it appears at the very end of the last volume of Burnham's Celestial Handbook. Vulpecula is the 55th constellation in size, occupying an area of only 268 square degrees. Slide Master, slide number 16. Alpha Vulpeculae is also known as 6 Vulpeculae, is a red giant star that is about 250 light years away. Giant at magnitude 4.4 as seen from the Earth. So none of the stars in this constellation are very bright. In binoculars, a companion star can be seen and is not noticeable to the naked eye. This star is 8 Vulpeculae, an orange giant star that shines at about 5.8 magnitude. The two stars form a visual double only. They are not a true binary system. This star is an easy to split in 80 millimeter short focus refractor, which is about the same as a typical pair of binoculars. In this scope, Alpha looked yellow and 8 looked yellow-orange. Now, I have a bit of a trivia pop quiz for all of you. You'll have to answer it yourselves, okay? What is the proper name for Alpha Orionis? That'll be Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, okay? What is the proper name for Alpha Leonis? Regulus. What's the proper name for Alpha Lyra? That would be Vega. Alpha Vulpeculae also has a proper name. Do any of you out there know what it is? Come now, if you have an idea. What's your call sign? Well, the proper name for Alpha Vulpeculae is Answer. Answer is the Latin for goose, which derives from the fact that the original name of this constellation was Vulpecula, the little fox with the goose. Okay. Indeed, early pictorial star atlases showed the constellation with a drawing of a fox bearing a goose in its mouth. Wow. So the proper name for Alpha Vulpeculae is, well, the answer. It answers itself. Slide Master, slide number 17, please. Yes, someone says Colander 399 is also known as the coat hanger. can be seen with the unaided eye from a dark sky site as an unresolved patch of light. It is easily resolved in its distinctive coat hanger shape with even the smallest of scopes, even binoculars, making it an easy binocular or finder scope object. It looks great in an 80 millimeter short focus refractor. In a Dynamax at 41 power, that's the lowest power that you can get with most eyepieces. It takes about 3 fields of view side by side to see it all. The 6 stars in the hook area fill the field of view. In respects to the coat hanger is somewhat like the Pleiades. It's an object that's best viewed at low power, wide field instrument like binoculars. For many years, the coat hanger was believed to be an open star cluster, but recent studies have shown that it's not a true cluster after all. It's just really a chance alignment of stars. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 18, please. All right. Do any of you out there want to look at something dumb? Well, M27 is also called the Dumbbell Nebula. Discovered by Charles Messier himself on July 1764, Britain's Celestial Handbook describes M27 as the most conspicuous planetary nebula in the entire sky for small instruments, with a total magnitude of about 8. It may be easily found in binoculars, really larger binoculars. The large apparent size of this nebula classifies it possibly as one of the nearest of the planetaries. Current estimates of its distance place it about 815 light years away. Slide master, slide number 19. There are more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellations of Vulpecula and Sagitta the Arrow. I've just given you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 75 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year from the Astronomical League. Slide master, slide number 20, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellations of the Week, Vulpecula, the Little Fox, and Sagitta, the Arrow. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I've used, borrowed, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next time, I'll take a look at Cygnus the Swan, which is actually the constellation of the month for the Astronomical Society meeting on Friday. And this is KF5 JHA sending it back to our net control, and I might not be here next week. I'll be at the Plano Balloon Festival, 73.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Chaz. Do we have any more check-ins now? Well, let's move on to space launches for this week. I'll call on Tom, KE5ICX, to tell us about those.
All right, thank you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX, and I've got a bunch of them. Let's see. Let's start with what seems to be every week, several times a week, late September. We don't have a date for this one yet. Starlink 4-35. This will launch from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. We'll launch another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. On September 21st, we have from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, ISS 68S mission. This will be a Soyuz rocket. Will launch a crewed Soyuz MS-22 spacecraft to the International Space Station with the next team of 3 cosmonauts and astronauts to live and work in the complex. The crew is led by Commander Sergei Prokofiev, who will be joined by Russian flight engineer Dmitry Petlin and NASA astronaut Frank Rubino. The rocket will fly in the Soyuz 2.1A configuration. On September 24th, launching from SLC-6 at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket will launch classified payload for the National Reconnaissance Office, the U.S. government spy satellite agency. This will be the final Delta IV launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base. On September 27th, Space Launch System Artemis I will launch from Launch Complex 39B at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The SLS Heavy Lift rocket will launch on its first test flight with an uncrewed Orion spacecraft. The mission, known as Artemis I, will place an Orion spacecraft into orbit around the moon before the capsule returns to Earth for splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. 10 small CubeSat rideshare payloads will also launch on the Artemis I mission. We have, in late September, you guessed it, another Falcon 9 Starlink 4-36, this time SLC-40, Cape Canaveral Space Force Base in Florida. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. Here we go, everybody together. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. On September 29th, we have a launch from SLC-2W at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. A Firefly Alpha rocket will launch on its second test flight with a rideshare payload consisting of multiple small satellites. This is called the Demo Flight 2. On September 30th, we have a launch from SLC-41 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket will launch the SES-20 and SES-21 communication satellites for the SES of Luxembourg. SES-20 and 21 will provide C-band television and data communications over the United States. The rocket will fly in a 531 vehicle configuration with a 5-meter fairing, 3 solid rocket boosters, and a single-engine Centaur upper stage. And I think I've run out of launches. Back to you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you very much. Do we have any more check-ins now?
No.
Station trying to call in. Would you try again, please?
November 5 Sierra Quebec Alpha.
All right, November 5 Sierra Quebec Alpha. I guess this is Ron, right?
Yes, and I don't know much about anything you guys are talking about, but I saw the full moon the other night, N5SQA.
Well, that is an excellent start. If you like to go out and look at the sky, then good enough. Okay, moving on. We've got an article entitled Astronomy is to blame for bulges in the Milky Way bar. And by the way, I ran across a bit of trivia. The Milky Way candy bar is not named after the galaxy. It's named after a milkshake. So, a new simulation conducted by the world's most powerful supercomputer dedicated to astronomy has produced a testable scenario to explain the appearance of the bar of the Milky Way. Comparing the scenario to data from current and future space telescopes will help clarify the evolution of our home galaxy. Astronomy is revealing the structure of the Milky Way galaxy in which we live in increasing detail. We know that it is a disk galaxy with 2 or 4-armed spirals with a straight bar in the middle connecting the spirals. Now, we also know that the inner bar of the part of the bar has a peanut-shaped bulge. Places where the bar is thicker, sticking out above and below the midplane of the Milky Way galaxy, and a nuclear bridge, which is disky and located in the central part of the Milky Way. Some other galaxies, but not all, exhibit similar two-type bulges. Like dieters who suddenly find bulges sticking out, astronomers ask the question, how did the two-type bulges form? To answer this question, a team led by Junichi Baba at the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan simulated one possible scenario for a Milky Way-like galaxy on at ATERUI-2 at NAOJ, the world's most powerful supercomputer dedicated to astronomy. The team's simulation is the most complete and accurate to date, including not only the stars in the galaxy but also the gas. It also incorporates the birth of new stars from the gas and the deaths of stars as supernovae. The formation of a bar helps to channel gas into the central part of the galaxy where it triggers the formation of new stars. So it might be reasonable to assume that the nuclear bugle in the galaxy is created from new stars born there. But the simulations show that there are almost no new stars in the bar outside the nuclear bulge because the bar is so effective at channeling gas towards the center. This means that pigging out on gas is not the reason that a peanut-shaped bulge develops in the bar. Instead, the team finds that gravitational interactions can drive some of the stars into orbits which takes them above and below the midplane. The most exciting part is that the simulation provides a testable scenario because the peanut-shaped bulge acquires no new stars. All of its stars must predate the formation of the bar. At the same time, the bar channels gas to the central region where it creates many new stars. So almost all the stars in the nuclear bulge will have been born after the bar formed. This means that the stars in the peanut-shaped bulge will be older than the stars in the nuclear bulge, with a clear break between the ages. This break corresponds with the time when the bar formed. Data from the European Space Agency's Gaia probe, I think it is, and Japan's future Jasmine satellite will allow us to determine the motions and ages of the stars and test this scenario. If astronomers can detect a difference between the ages of the stars in peanut-shaped and nuclear bulges, it will not only prove that overeating is not to blame for the peanut-shaped bulge, it will tell us the age of the bar in the Milky Way galaxy. And this was from ScienceDaily.com, and that is the end of that. Okay, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. KE5ICX. Tom, do you have anything for us?
Yes, Brenda, I do. I had to put down my snack, but it usually ended earlier than usual, so it's okay. Yes, I do. I have nothing from the ISS. However, I did see it flying over. When was it? Night before last. I got out of my car and I saw it flying over, and sure enough, I checked the Kepler data and it did fly over. There was something else that flew over too. I'm not sure what it was. It was a smaller satellite, slightly different angle. I tried to look it up to see what it was. It wasn't our usual suspects that I normally report on, but we all know there's hundreds, if not thousands of them flying overhead at any given time. I just thought I'd mention that. Okay, so the first thing I've got, I don't have a lot of them tonight, just because I guess the reflections are not as favorable right at this moment. We have the Tiangong Chinese Space Station, where 3 tachyonauts are currently in orbit. September 8th has September 18th, let's do that correctly, has a good pass. This is a minus 2.1 magnitude at 5:48 a.m. It comes out of shadow at 60 degrees. It will be in the northwest. It will reach its highest point at 61 degrees at 5:49:46. So 06, I should say. So it comes out of shadow for about 10 seconds and reaches its highest point. It will fall at 5:52 to the east-northeast. Next up I've got is the X-37B. This one has a good pass September 22nd. be 0.3 magnitude. This one will be at 6:11 a.m. out of the southwest, reach its highest point at 79 degrees at 6:13, and it'll fall to 6:15 to the east-northeast. Second pass is September 23rd, 1.4 magnitude at 6:44 a.m. It'll be out of the west. It'll reach its highest point at 31 degrees at 6:33:31, and then it will fall to 6:36 to the northeast. Then our ever-popular ENVISAT, the dead environmental satellite, a big satellite, in fact, has a number of passes. Of course, it's in a polar orbit, so it's some pretty good passes from it. September 19th is a good one. We have 3.0 magnitude at 6:06 a.m. and it reaches its highest point at 58 degrees at 6:11. It'll fall to the south-southwest at 6:16. Following evening, we got September 20th, or morning, I should say, 3.5 magnitude, kind of rinse and repeat. A little bit earlier, 5:29 a.m. out of the north-northeast, reach its highest point at 5:34, also at 58 degrees. It'll fall to 5:39:30 at 10 degrees. Then on the 22nd, another pass, 2.9 magnitude. Again, it's kind of getting dimmer. 5:51 a.m. It'll reach its highest point. That's coming out of the north. Reach its highest point at 5:59 at 76 degrees, and it will fall to the south-southwest at 6:04. And then finally, September 25th, I've got a pass of 3.0 magnitude at 5:42 a.m. Out of the north-northeast. It reaches its highest point at 82 degrees, almost directly overhead at 5:47, and it will fall to the south at 5:52 a.m. All this information is available at heavensabove.com. When you sign up, or when you go there, you can sign up as a user, log in, and it'll automatically put your location in place. If you don't do that, there is an anonymous user, and you can manually put that information in, your longitude and latitude, or use one of the several different navigation globe devices that they've got. You can literally drop a pin onto a Google map, and it will place your longitude and latitude into place automatically. So that's it from me, Brenda. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Oh, very good. Well, we are wrapping up a little bit early tonight. We got time for astronomical Q&A. Does anybody have questions? Okay, it's Q&A. Does anybody have answers?
KG5BGW, I have a question.
KG5BZW. Go ahead, Jay.
Go into echoing here. I was wondering if there's an easy way to explain I don't know, it's probably a multi-part question, but I'm trying to understand the massive stars versus their actual size, and like how our sun's going to turn into a massive red giant, which I assume is because it's because of the conversion of all the hydrogen to helium, and which means there's like electrons kind of flying around in the midst instead of just like protons and stuff. I'm not even sure if I can even quantify what my question is, because I just trying to understand the scale of things, because you can have stars that are like the size of our sun, but or or wait there, I should say, they're a lot larger than our sun, but they're only like 100 masses of the sun, which, you know, if it was a pure volume, you know, same density kind of thing, you wouldn't expect it to be as nearly as big as they are, but they're a whole lot bigger. So I don't know if whoever wants to take a look at this knows where I'm going with this, but I was kind of wondering if there's a simple, you know, layman's explanation. I know there's an explanation. We could just, I kind of wonder if there's a simple explanation, or if you have to go deep into like nuclear physics and of star formation and stuff like that to really explain it. That's the thing that it's been wrecking in my head. I probably should just go online and read about it more, but I figure, what the heck, I'll ask this net first. That's it. KG5 those.
All right. Does anybody want have a response for to Jay?
KF5JHA.
KF5JHA. Go ahead, Chaz.
Hi, Jay. This could take a long time, so maybe I'll need to, the next time I'm the net control, talk about that in detail. But we have stars that are different masses, and we have stars that are different sizes. And they're not always the same. So the big mass stars might not necessarily be the largest stars. You were saying that our sun will become a red giant. That's true. And it's estimated that it might go out past the orbit of the Earth on its surface. That's a big star, but it doesn't mean that it's big and massive. It only means it's big. Then we have some massive stars, and we could even talk about other stars that are toward the end of their life that are much smaller, like neutron stars. They're not giving off really a lot of energy, but they're very, very dense and very massive. They can be very massive. So the two together are not mutually the same, but they're different. It has to do with stellar evolution. Maybe we can get into stellar evolution sometime on a future Skynet. I hope that's helped you out a little bit, Jay. Do you want to come back and see if you can ask me maybe a more detailed question, or maybe I can clarify something for you? This is KF5JHA, back to KG5BZW.
Okay, thank you, Chaz. So, do any checked-in stations have other remarks or questions? Do we have any final check-ins? And does anyone need any fills? Alrighty then. Tonight we had 22 hams participating on the air. Thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful Internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda, I'll be closing the net at 10:21 p.m. local time, or returning repeater to normal amateur use. But first, K5ICX, tell us what time we'll be back for Afterglow.
Thank you, Brenda. We'll take a little extra break, so we'll be back here at 10:30, which is about 9 minutes from now. So come back then, and we'll start the net on Irwin Allen, the master of disasters, the lost world from 1960. Be there or be square. KE5ICX.
All right, 73 everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. This is WV50ZL Clear.
KI5 JCM, wait, so I watched Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey for nothing? Damn it.
That was last week's movie, but if you could jump in the time machine, it's going to be a telephone booth, and go 1 week forward, or actually a few hours backward, you can watch this movie, The Lost World, and be an active participant.
I've read the book by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Is anything close to that?
No.
It's Irwin Allen. It's got explosions and rubber monsters. So, no.
normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
All right, we are starting at 10:30 tonight. That's a rarity, so I'm going to go ahead and ask, why not? Does anybody need to use the repeater before we begin the Afterglow Movie Net? I will take that as a no. This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Tom, and I'll be your net control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. This is where we have an opportunity to talk about a motion picture that we've been assigned earlier in the week, usually on Sunday, and then have an opportunity to slog through another fine film from the past. This week's fine film is called The Lost World from 1960. It's a deluxe color CinemaScope fantasy adventure film directed by Irwin Allen, and is loosely, as in so loosely as it's falling out of your bag, is loosely based on the 1912 novel of the same name by Arthur Conan Doyle. The plot of the film revolves around the exploration of a plateau in Venezuela inhabited by cannibals, dinosaurs, carnivorous plants, and giant spiders. The film itself includes a cast of millions, or, well, a half dozen people. Claude Range, David Edison, Fernando Lamas, Jill St. John, and the famous Klaatu himself, Michael Rennie. So, this is how this works. For those of you who are familiar with it, you know what to do. But for everyone else who might be listening in, don't be bashful. You can sign into this net even if you've never seen The Lost World. If it's an Irwin Allen production, you can be safe to know that there are going to be plastic monsters overacting, cheap special effects, and a fantastic series of unremarkable but strange events that take place that nobody understands. This movie is no different, except that it's in color and CinemaScope. The rules are as follows. We will go through and take check-ins. You will be asked your call sign name and whether you saw The Lost World, the 1960 version, yes or no. And that's fine. If you have not, that's okay too. You may be quizzed with a question as pondering as, would you go and watch this film? Would you spend the 90 minutes to see The Lost World from 1960? We may ask you about other Irwin Allen productions. There are many. He is the master of disaster, but I think that title probably should have been given to him earlier in his career before he started making films with things blowing up. This net is divided up into actually 3 rounds. The first round, we will be talking about the plot. What did you think about the plot? The second round is about characterization and acting. What did you think about the people who participated in the film on the screen? And then the third round is anything you want, usually special effects. And with this film, I just have a feeling we're going to be talking endlessly about the special effects in the third round. You can talk about music, anything you want, or if there was something that wasn't covered in the first 2 rounds, you can go ahead and make up for it in the third round. And then we all go to bed because it's usually around midnight when that occurs. Who knows? With this film, it may not last that long, or it may last a long time. We have not figured out exactly what the dynamics are when it comes to why we talk about a film longer than the actual film's running time. I will now take check-ins. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and did you see The Lost World from 1960? Please come now.
November 5 Sierra, Quebec Alpha, Ron. Yes!
November 5 Bravo Bravo, Bill in Irving. Yes.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas. No.
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Jay delivered. Yeah?
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda and DeSoto. Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and get started with these. I've got N5SQA, Ron, somewhere in Dallas, I think. He said yes, he saw the movie, and he said it very enthusiastically. We finally get to pin Ron down on a movie. This is going to be fun. Next up, N5BB, Bill in Irving. Yes, he saw the movie. NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. The guy who always sees all the movies failed us and did not. That's okay, Tony. We'll ask you questions about the film, and you can give your best answer because, quite honestly, if you've seen one Irwin Allen production, you've seen them all. KG5BZWJ near Weatherford, not in Weatherford, but near it. Yes, he saw the film. And then finally, WB50ZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto. Yes, she saw the film. I'll go ahead and take additional check-ins. We are, of course, waiting for some folks on the latest traffic net to show up. So I'll take another round and we'll see what happens. Does anybody want to join us? Tonight's movie is The Lost World from 1960. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see this fine film?
K5ANE in Richardson, and yes, I saw this incredible film.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf Cruise in Arlington. Yes, I saw the film.
We picked up 2 more. We got K5ANE, that's Kane. He's over in Richardson. Yup, he saw the movie. And KI5KWG, Cruise, strategically towards the very end. In Arlington, yes, he saw the movie. Now, would I reverse the order? I might. Would I go in random order? I might do that too. But instead, what I'm going to do is actually go by order of check-in, because I just feel like doing it. Because with Ron here, this is going to be exciting. He is a man who not only enjoys fine acting on screen, he is an actor himself. So, N5SQA, Ron, your mission is, should you decide to accept it, is to tell us about the plot and what you thought about it for The Lost World from 1960. Go ahead, Ron.
Okay, plot. I'm not sure I have anything to say about plot, and I have to go to bed. But what I do have to say is There's some lines that jumped out at me. These fumes are deadly. Gomez, use your machete. These sounds like things that are said whenever my two brothers come to town for a party. I would have thought going in that Jill St. John, the Bond girl, was my favorite actress, but no, Bettini Marcus was my favorite, especially wardrobe choices. And this movie had everything you could possibly want. It had the guy from The Day the Earth Stood Still, the Bond girl, the guy from Journey Under the Sea. It had the guy from Casablanca. It had the guy from Fantasy Island. It had, there was a guy named Jay Novello who played Costa. And I said, Jay Novello, I wonder if he's related to Don Novella. I looked it up. No, reset. Let's see. The thing that bugged me the most, other than the special effects, which this is not the special effects time, but since I'm not going to be here, they glued stuff to iguanas, and that's not right. But the Fernando Lamas, who played Manuel Gomez, playing what they kept referring to as a guitar, but it was obviously a baritone ukulele, and if you'll note closely, it had no strings, but the music you heard, presumably coming from his fingers, were six-string guitar chords and whatnot. And my last observation is that Jennifer Holmes, Jill St. John, her pink cha-cha pants never got dirty. I'm probably done. N5SQA.
Well, thank you, Ron, and I will call on you later, but I'm sure you'll be in bed. But thank you for those comments. But just for an aside, I have met Bettina Marcus. She was the native girl, and she's about 3 feet tall, and that may be a stretch. Okay, next up is Bill, N5BB in Irving. Bill, your thoughts on the plot to The Lost World from 1960. Please go ahead from KE5I6.
Okay, Tom, this is N5BB. Well, that's interesting, that you've met her, but Bettina Marcus was actually trained by Lee Strasberg, believe it or not. She was in several movies and several TV shows and then dropped out of acting. But, she had limited things to do in the movie, and I thought she did them well, but, it wasn't exactly a speaking part. Okay, as far as the plot goes, well, I never have read the original by Arthur Conan Doyle, so I do not know how close it was to that. And of course, there was a 1925 film, and I haven't seen that full film, or if I have, it's been many, many, many years. So I'm not sure if it stuck to that plot. But it looked like Irwin Allen had his fingers on it and did his Irwin Allen disaster movie touches to it. Break. This is N5BB. As far as the plot goes, it's one of these science fiction movies which has the predictable plot of you go somewhere and it's getting ready to disintegrate. Like the world's going to blow up. Star Trek got caught in this too. The planet's going to blow up. There's going to be a flood. The volcano's going to explode. Something's going to happen. And you just randomly happen to be there at the same time. So, I don't know. I guess that's a plot device, but I get bored by it because it's in so many films. Especially back from this era. As far as the rest of the plot, there were some twists along the way, which made it not quite as dull, where we actually did find did come across Burton White. You know, he was mentioned earlier in the movie, and we didn't think we'd see him. Wow, there he is. And then we did have that plot twist that, of course, Gomez's brother had been killed, and he blamed the Michael Rennie character, Lord John Roxton. We don't find that out till reasonably late in the movie. But then he forgives him. I don't know. These sudden changes are crazy. I also noticed that the character that's kind of problematic, Gomez, that's going to kill Rennie, and they don't have to resolve that. Why? They kill off Gomez. They let him fall into the lava, saving everybody else. So that's kind of a crazy little plot thing over the top. As far as the plot, everybody's on a ledge going along over the hot boiling lava is another one of those plot things that's repeated in various movies. In fact, it's very obvious that Raiders of the Lost Ark, they stole like crazy from this movie. Raiders of the Lost Ark essentially is a modified version of this movie. What else about the plot? I kind of thought it was interesting. Tom would probably appreciate the fact that the movie started off with the TWA Boeing 707 in London, and they were commenting about this amazing jet overseas service. So I thought that was an interesting kind of beginning to it. And then we had a helicopter later in it, and they showed an awful lot of people in that helicopter. I mean, the inside nearly looked larger than the outside, but that was kind of an interesting avionics thing. What else? I'm looking at my notes about the plot. I thought adding the plot thing of the guitar music by Gomez was kind of neat. I appreciated that. It added something to the movie. So the movie wasn't quite as stiff as it could have been because they added things like Gomez playing the guitar, which I kind of liked the fact that they added that. And there was another little plot thing I thought was kind of interesting when the Lord John Roxton, when he was interacting, having a little heavy discussion with Ed Malone, the David Hennessy character, and Ed Malone said, "You got some lipstick there," and then Lord Roxton said something like, "I don't care about lipstick," or "Lipstick doesn't matter to me." But it was kind of an interesting interaction there. I mean, I like the fact that they threw that in there. It made it appear as much more of a real kind of encounter to me. So there were some things about this movie I actually liked. The native girl thing and all the natives there is another thing in a lot of these movies from the time frame, and that was kind of over the top. The Green Spider, again, Raiders of the Lost Ark just copied this. The references to El Dorado were kind of interesting. I wonder if those came from the original book or not. All the diamonds, that was over the top. The one thing that bothered me about the plot in this movie, the main thing that bothered me, was they made the sidekick that Jay Novello played, Jose, they just made it very stereotyped. He was greedy, he was lusty, his emotions were out of control, He cried, he yelled, he wanted to run away. I couldn't really depend on him. He grabs all the diamonds. You know, I don't know. It seemed to me like they were typecasting the Mexican guy, the Spanish guy that was unpredictable. I don't know. I thought that was horrible writing. Actually, it was racist, kind of, or whatever. And I mean, not racist, but it was horrible stereotyping. I think that's all I have to talk about in the first. In the first roll around of things. In 5BB, that's all. Oh, I got one more thing. I'll throw in the Congo Free State. I don't know if you realize it, but the original book by Arthur Conan Doyle, he was a proponent of getting rid of the Congo Free State, which was in the middle of Africa, run by the King of Belgium. And there was slavery and all kinds of nasty things going on. And a lot of people think that this movie, which was written a few years after he was involved in trying to get rid of the Congo Free State, was affected by his study of the Congo Free State. So you might look at the Congo Free State, and, Dr. Stanley of, Livingston, I presume, he was involved with the Congo Free State. So there's a lot of things that are kind of relative to this movie that Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of the original story, was involved with, involving him trying to get rid of King Leopold in Belgium running the Congo Free State. There's a little plot twist for you. That's all I got now, N5BB.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Bill. That was a lot of material you covered. So, as recap, we are talking about The Lost World from 1960, the Irwin Allen spectacular film, or not so spectacular. Next up is Tony, NT5TM. He did not see the film, but Tony, what is your favorite Irwin Allen property? We'll ask you that question.
Hey, Tom, I've probably seen some, but I can't name one. I was kind of, when Bill was talking about that and Arthur Conan Doyle, I've never read The Lost World, although I've heard of it. I've only read Sherlock Holmes stories. I should see if I can track that down, because Arthur Conan Doyle was a fun writer. I've read, so many Sherlock Holmes stories. They're probably all more fun than this movie. I've got so many things I can do, as do we all in real life. There's so many good books and interesting projects, and just looking at this movie and seeing the, giant macrophotography, horned lizards and iguanas and so forth, I thought, I can't do it. I can't do it. My brain might never recover. I might never be the same. I just can't do it. So I didn't. So I don't have a favorite Irwin Allen movie, but that style of using macrophotography of harmless small creatures to make them into monsters sure is distinctive, and I think everyone who grew up in the U.S. knows it, even if we don't know where we learned it from. NT5TM.
Oh, Tony, so disappointing. Very, very disappointing. Here's a fun fact most people don't know. I was in the foreword for a book and referenced for the unauthorized guide to Lost in Space. They used a lot of my material, the writer did. So rather than giving me money, he went ahead and gave me credit for the work that I did that he stole. I'm somewhat of a savant when it comes to Lost in Space, Irwin Allen's favorite space adventure. But that's neither here nor there. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, tell us about The Lost World and the Plot. What'd you think? From KE5ICX.
BBW. Yeah, now, I wanted to watch this film on, like, my TV instead of in front of the computer, and, well, there might have been a way to do some sort of, casting a video stream to if I use another computer. I went ahead and bought, rented this film, and I am kind of not happy. Anyway, yeah, it just Bill mentioned, actually, I have to admit, because, we were going to talk about this, I try to figure out why the heck everybody's speaking Spanish. Most of the Amazon rainforest is Brazil, which is Portuguese, but I learned that, there are, bits and pieces that are in, that they don't consider that, they do consider that part of the Amazon. I guess in my mind, they were classified otherwise, but I guess they're still part of the Amazon. So I guess that the Spanish does make sense in this film. It just we got to take one of the countries that are surrounding Brazil here. Excuse me. Okay. There's not much plot really that's worth talking about. Yeah, there's things that happened and revenge and a bunch of silly stuff. There's not. I don't really want to talk about that. I want to talk about some of the silly effects and the helicopter that was more massive on the inside and on the outside, and in fact, as viewed from the outside, it is obviously structurally dissimilar, unless there's some sort of space-time warp device that connects that cockpit to the rest of it in a more straight. What would you call it? Linear fashion. The cockpit looked to actually be on top, kind of the cargo area. Inside, there's all these drapes, and it was just so obvious it was actually just a movie. A movie set for that. There's things like the plateau, like that's how are we supposed to believe that small plateau is going to be this large reservoir of life that it was portrayed as? I don't know. Surely they had better radio systems than the only radios that would been in the helicopter. I know that I've got a AM transistor radio my dad had from the 50s, so thought they would have had some mobile units for this trip or something. I know there was in World War II, I thought there was more
this is just me more complimented from ignorance than being expert on that. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. There's a lot about the film I just don't really want to occupy any more neurons in my mind than they've already occupied. So that's my 2 cents. Get your 5 BCW.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Jay. Next up is Brenda, WB5OZL. I'm over here prodding her with a stick to keep her awake. She's fading fast, but I know she has something to say about the plot for tonight's movie, The Lost World from 1960. So, Brenda, please go ahead from KE5ICX.
Why, thank you, Tom. This is WB5OZL. The plot. Not very original. I wish I had $1 for every movie I have seen where somebody goes and finds dinosaurs and cavemen where they shouldn't be. It's just so overdone. And, of course, you know, the book was very old. The book wasn't exactly derivative of all these old B movies, but this one was. I'm not believing those lizards as dinosaurs. In the book, they had pterodactyls. I would have liked to have seen that. But just plain old lizards stomping around, and they, you know, make them look big. And that just was, you know, and they roared. I've never seen a lizard roar. And although in movies dinosaurs roar, but of course we don't really know. But I guess we're all scared of dinosaurs, which just makes it a good horror movie that they're so big and they're going to come and eat us, like they do in Jurassic Park. An awful lot of this movie was wasted on the bickering and arguing and the relationships between all the different characters, which to me grew very tiresome. Really kind of didn't care about their little petty squabbles. And the whole thing of the woman stowing away and showing up is so dumb. And the little yappy poodle, Frosty the Poodle, was just an utterly worthless plot move, in my opinion. It didn't add anything to the story at all. I think that was supposed to be maybe some comic relief. I'm not sure. To me, it was just annoying. Although not so much that I wanted the dinosaur to eat the dog, because she was kind of cute. I'll have to say that. But here comes this woman with all these pink suitcases and pink boots, which she didn't ever wear, and pink pants, and all kinds of girly stuff. She shows up on high heels, which is so dumb. And she wasn't supposed to be there anyway. And it's just a device to get a woman on the set. So, that part of the plot to me was just didn't work very well. And of course, you've got the volcano and the subterranean trail and the adventures and so on. And of course, we contrive to have them all stranded as the helicopter is damaged. I don't know what they're going to do now. They're alive and free, but how are they going to get back to civilization? They didn't, they seem very jubilant, but they got no food and water. So I'd like to see what that little troop looks like 2 weeks out. But still, Irwin Allen is pretty good at making movies, and it was kind of exciting. If I was a child at the time and had seen this, I probably would have thought it was pretty cool. but to me now it's just kind of dumb and derivative and overdone. But he was in color. All right, back to net. WV50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And yes, I was a child when this movie, well, I was not born yet, but I did watch it in reruns on television. And then the fact that every scene that was in this film was reused over and over again, even some of the actors, and every single one of the Irwin Allen television shows. So you got that, too. All right, let's move on to Kane, K5A&E. Kane, welcome back. What did you think about the plot for The Lost World, the Irwin Allen production from KE5ICX?
Overall, I gotta say, I enjoyed this movie. It was pretty well done for a 1960s movie, especially some kind of 1960s sci-fi kind of thing, and I definitely don't know the source material, although it does seem interesting. I should probably read it, and kind of feel a little bit bad about not having read it when I've read so much of the author's other works, which no point in mentioning that here tonight. But yeah, in other words, like it's got some strong source material, and I do have to say, like, for a lot of the plot, it definitely goes through pretty well and continues on and has a good pacing to it. There definitely was a little bit in the middle there that I was starting to lose a little bit of interest. Soon after they found the local woman and all those scenes, they kind of, especially after they found the notebook and everything else, it all really just slowed down for a bit there until they were then running from the natives and trying to run through the caves and action scenes again. Other than that, though, the plot progressed pretty well, and it was a pretty watchable movie overall. I was definitely entertained. It was a pretty good one, and was way better than I was expecting for a 1960s sci-fi dinosaur kind of movie. So that's it for me. K5A&E, back to net.
Okay, thank you, Kane. And a thumbs up from Kane on our movie. Well, we're going to have to fix that in short order. Next up is K1KWG. That would be Cruz. Cruz usually is our regular who regularly gives a thumbs up to many of our more questionable films. But let's find out what he has to say about The Lost World. Cruz, what do you think? Was this a winner or a loser from KE5ICX?
KI5KWG. I hadn't thought of thumbs up or thumbs down. I think I enjoyed it. Yeah, so I'll give it a thumbs up. My first impression was I've seen this before. Not that I'd actually seen this before, but I've seen the dinosaur in the volcano and the ledge, and as has all been mentioned before by others. And so that part was a little stale, although in 1960 perhaps it was rather fresh. I have a note here that still seems to work for me, and I said it starts as a Disney-esque slapstick comedy, turns to Jurassic Park with the colorful ambiance of Lost in Space and Time Tunnel and a spidery dash of Hobbit, and then they end with laughing. And so I kind of had in mind that they weren't quite sure where they were going with this film. And by the way, I wrote that without realizing Irwin Allen had done Lost in Space and Time Tunnel and this film. I had no idea who Irwin Allen is until about 10 minutes ago listening to you all. So I definitely picked up on the Lost in Space and Time Tunnel similarities in how this was done. As for the plot itself, I have it written this way. It's the classic plot of age-old struggle. Can Jill St. John be upstaged by Bettina Marcus? And we find out that she can. And I was quite surprised by that. That's all I've got on the plot. KI5 KWG, back to net.
Thank you, Cruz. You should be a movie host. Not just any movie host. You have to be one with really bad movies, because you can describe these things in a short sentence that everyone can appreciate, and they can run to their television set and change the channel. All right, that's excellent. We're at the bottom of the list. I have some comments, but I'm going to see if there's anyone out there. Tonight's movie, we were talking about The Lost World from 1960, the Irwin Allen film of dinosaurs. Are there any other folks out there who would like to check in? If you do, please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see the film? All right, well, I guess we got our normal complement this evening. Sometimes latecomers come in, maybe, they're stranded on the side of the road and got nothing better to do, and their battery is charged. They can just come in and discuss the film. Okay, well, I'm not going to retread any ground here. I think everybody's pretty much covered what we know, and that is that we're taking an old story, and in fact, it was updated. One of the people that wrote the original screenplay for the 1928 film, I think it is, says here in Wiki that they were brought in to this film. And I think Irwin Allen, one thing you got to remember about him is that he never sees anything as bad. He always has this optimistic idea, kind of an Ed Wood character with money, and tries to produce something that people will enjoy, that he knows he will enjoy. And that's what he tried to do with the film. He got an A-list group of stars here to play all these different characters to interact with. And in fact, that script is just loaded with lots of talking back and forth, but none of it actually forwarding the plot in any way, shape, or form. So the film slows down to a glacial pace until we get towards the end of the film, where we bring in the rubber monsters into the film to give it the action that the kids have already fallen asleep or have wandered into the popcorn lobby to get something to eat. Parents are sitting there aghast, wondering what they're going to do with children to try and keep them under control, since there's just a lot of talking going on. So I think, and another thing that happens with all Irwin Allen productions, as you may have noticed, is he takes us from one disaster to the next disaster to the next disaster to the next disaster, interspersed with dialogue that nobody cares about. That is Irwin Allen. He would always do this, and none of this stuff actually progresses in the story in any real coherent way, I think. I mean, he's on a voyage, we're trying to get somewhere and do something, but in the end, it ends in kind of a weird way. Yeah, we get off the plateau, I guess, and we have no way to survive once they get off of the plateau. There's no food, there's no radio, there's nothing. We're going to make money off of all of these diamonds. No, what they're going to find is your lifeless body, and these diamonds will be the only thing left. So there you have it. And that stringless guitar, those are the things that will be left behind. And when they find these people 100 years from now, they'll go, you think they met the dinosaurs that are atop of this plateau? I don't know. I can hear them from here. So who knows? And why didn't anybody discover this stuff beforehand? Well, I don't know. All right, that's my rant. We will now move on to characterizations. We'll start at the top. Now, Ron may have gone to bed, or he's turned his radio off, or he's turned his radio off and gone to bed. N5SQA, Ron, if you're still there, we'd like to hear what you have to say about the acting and the cast for The Lost World from 1960. N5SQA from KE5ICX.
Thanks, Tom. Somehow or another, I got a second wind, and I'm still here. I don't know anything about the cast. I want to acknowledge Brenda, who pointed out, and I didn't even think about this until she pointed it out, that after they landed on this plateau, nobody ate or drank anything. As an aviation buff, I liked seeing the shots of the 707 in the air, and then it transitioned to a constellation, and then I can't name the seaplane that they had for the final leg, but enjoyed that part. But the thing that really has me staying awake is you, Tom, said something about meeting Bettini Marcus. We have to hear more about that. And I probably will go to bed, so there's a plot point that it annoyed me. At the very end, Fernando Lamas is hanging on a log that's been stuck, presumably, in burning molten rocks for ages before they got there. How is that possible? N5SQA.
Thank you, Ron. And yes, that is very true. I know it drove me nuts about that stupid log and how the heck it didn't disintegrate. And who put it there? And why did they put it there? Well, obviously it was the crew that put it there, the crew for the movie. But we'll get there in a little bit. Yes. Well, Bettina Marcus, I actually saw her about 30 years ago now. I think she's like 109 now. But I went to a convention at out in California. I was actually on a business trip, and I left a day early so I could go to the convention. And I met all sorts of interesting people there. She was one of them. I met Robert Fuller. I met the two guys that were on Time Tunnel. And there's so many. I have to go back and remember who they were. There were people from B-list people from Star Wars and all of that. The guy who was inside the robot from Lost in Space, he was there. I met Nancy Cartwright. I can't think of her name all of a sudden. She was there, and I talked to her for a little bit. There were a whole bunch of people. I'm getting a little tired. I can't remember everybody, but there was a bunch of people I saw. And of course, everybody's crowning achievement. I met the guy who played the janitor in, what was that movie? One of the Ed Wood movies, Plan 9 from Outer Space. Boy, you can't get better than that. Really, you can't. Okay, next up is Bill, N5BB. Bill, your comments on characterization, please.
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. Reading about Bettina Marcus, she's more of an interesting lady. She was a Sicilian and Hungarian descent, and she's now 85. So, Tom, if you saw her 30 years ago, she would have been 55, which at your age, it probably sounded like somebody who's probably pretty old compared to you, but now she seems kind of young, doesn't she, back then? She was 55 30 years ago. Anyway, other interesting things about her, she kept on with Irwin Allen projects. So she was in a couple of Irwin Allen movies, like Terras Bulba, with Yul Brynner and Tony Curtis. On TV, she was in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, and she was, of course, Irwin Allen reused some footage from Lost World, and she was in Lost in Space as the Green Lady in Lost in Space, and she was in Have Gun Will Travel, and Time Tunnel, and Man from U.N.C.L.E., and Gunsmoke, and Rawhide. and then she dropped out of the entertainment business in the late 60s. But anyway, kind of an interesting person. To me, she was perfectly cast for that. Very athletic. She looked really good in that skimpy costume. And, I think she did a good job acting with no lines to speak. Anyway, let's see. Characterization. Michael Rennie, well, he did the Michael Rennie thing, everything he's in, he's kind of the Michael Rennie character. And he played that character well, or they cast him well for that character. And he was kind of a tragic character, which isn't uncommon for some of his things. He was kind of majestic, but then turned tragic. Jill St. John is Jennifer Holmes. She was only like 19 or 20 years old when this movie was filmed. I think she was probably 19. And, but she had been in movies for a long time. She was, with a movie studio at age 16, so she had been in a lot of stuff. And she's still around. And, she kind of did the basic things. I don't think she completely flubbed it. But as Brenda said, all she had to do was look pretty and wear those different clothes and have her little cutesy dog. So she didn't really get to be very much of a character. She was just a showpiece, as Brenda said. David Hedison as Ed Malone. Again, it just reminds me of what he did on the I'm sorry, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea movie. He had similar kind of character to that one, kind of a get the job done. He'll do things, and he's a pretty handy guy, climb around and get things done, and I don't know, kind of a working guy you could depend on in a pinch kind of character. Claude Rains, he's an interesting actor. Info BB. Professor Challenger, what a name. And, of course, Claude Rains has all this wide range of characters he does, and he gets really into them. He can be really bad. So he was kind of good as this character. I kind of enjoyed the first part of the movie with him buying people with his umbrella and just being really nasty. And he was really good at playing a curmudgeon. But later on in the movie, he was about ready to fall off things and climb back up and did a lot of, or he appeared to do a lot of those things. That was probably doubles. But still, I thought he pulled it off pretty good, being that curmudgeoning character. So I think he was cast pretty good in that position. Fernando Lamas, Lorenzo Lamas' dad, he was cast pretty good in that. As I said earlier, I liked his appearing to play the guitar, and I think they added a little bit to it. Jay Novello, who was in a jillion things, as the sidekick, Jose. Like I say, I think it was horrible stereotyping. He played that part the way it was written, I'm sure, but oh man, I hated to watch that. It wasn't his fault, I don't think. He just did what he was supposed to. Ray Strickland, who was in a lot of things also, was David Holmes, and he, I think, was in a lot of other things. I've heard his name before. He was Joe St. John's brother. Irwin Allen produced, directed, and everything. Of course, let's see, what other kind of things involving the characterization? I told you about the lipstick thing. I thought was interesting. The girls screamed. They screamed. They got, no matter what was happening, they screamed, which gave away their location. The native girl screamed, and Jill St. John screamed. Just horrible characterization there of that. I hated that, but that was common for the time. And I think that's all the characterizations I had. You know, they did the job. I don't think any of the characters were horrible, but some of them were written horrible, like the sidekick Jose. I didn't like the writing on that one, but I think the characters pretty much, did a reasonable job playing their characters, and it was, as I agree with whoever said it, I think it was moderately enjoyable, except for the slow parts near the end. It got really slow. In 5BB. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill. And if you're watching the stream, there's maybe 2 people out there, maybe 3, I don't know. Here, I'm holding it up. There's my autographed picture with Bettina Marcus as Nina from, not the one you think, the Nina from Lost in Space. She appeared in 2 episodes, and it says, "To oh so handsome Tom, Bettina Marcus." That was kind of her line from both shows that she was in for Lost in Space. But anyway, there you have it. Okay, next up is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, tell us how you would make The Lost World if you were director from KE5I6.
Well, I would probably have to keep the skimpy costumes for marketing purposes, but I'd use lots of CGI instead of the giant iguanas. I really didn't know much about Irwin Allen. I knew he was famous, but after your question last round, I took a break from my busy schedule and went to Wikipedia and realized that he was connected with some things that weren't awful. Lost in Space, as you alluded to, which was very popular, or more importantly, the Poseidon Adventure. So to answer that question, I think the Poseidon Adventure, without a doubt, would be my most favoritist Irwin Allen product, because that was a genuinely really good movie. We still live in a world where you kind of have to sell the movie, although I don't think teenage boys are nearly as important in the ticket-buying demographic as they used to be. But yeah, definitely CGI instead of macro photography. Real good miniatures last a lot longer, in terms of movie quality, but CGI is cheap. And Poseidon Adventure, I should watch that again. NT5TM.
Very good. Thank you, Tony. And just for a side note, I have to confirm this, but there was a sequel to the Poseidon Adventure called Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, where they go in and try and find some secret stash on the capsized ship within hours after it capsized. And of course, there was a redo of the film without Irwin. He'd long since passed on, called Poseidon, which really wasn't a bad film either. So you've got those two. Okay, next up is KG5BZW. Jay, your thoughts on Characterization for The Lost World from 1960. This is KE5I6.
KG5BZW. Besides the one gentleman's character, which is just horribly written, I thought the make the characters was too bad. I mean, there's a lot of objections that can't come to mind, like just how but I mean that's how women were written back then, so it's just like should I really even bring it up? It's already been brought up. I did like Professor Challenger. He had to say he wasn't really that smart, but I did like the way he acted for what, did. And the way of introducing him was kind of interesting too. So I'll give him a thumbs up on that. But remember what some of the characters were. I should have had. I should have IMD in front of me, but I just don't. It was really, my problem was just how it really wasn't the characters as much as just the whole scenario. And I also mentioned how guy, the tutor and the young one of these Malone, not because there's another young person that I mean, there were some interesting interactions, but I'll grant that. But the silly native scenes. I don't want to, like I already told you, so there's stuff I kind of just want to forget. But I'm really sure if that the characters are just the plot itself, just. But I'll leave that. KG Bobby is doing.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Jay. Next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, your thoughts on characterization and the acting in The Lost World?
This is WB50ZL. Well, when I saw the cast list before I watched it, I was very excited because there are some big names in this. And I'd say most of the cast were major actors, and I guess they acted okay. It's just the dialogue was so dumb, and the plot was so dumb. I mean, we could just do so much with it. But I think Challenger to me was the most interesting character of the bunch, and Michael Rennie, he was so good in The Day the Earth Stood Still. I just didn't care for him at all in this movie. Liked the little poodle. She was cute. Most of the characters I thought weren't terribly well developed. A little bit, they were caricatures more than anything. And the relationships were very formulaic. I think that's all I have to say about it. Back to net, WB50ZL.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Brenda. Next up, K5A&E Kane. Your thoughts on characterization, the acting, that jazz from KE5ICX.
I definitely feel that a lot of the acting was pretty typical for the 1960s, especially 1960. Things were only finally starting to loosen up in this time period as far as some of the acting styles, and a lot of these actors and just the way they behave on the screen is very rigid, and they're trying to really kind of push this, stereotypical kind of, the way that the character is supposed to behave, which then makes them look really rigid and just unnatural. I definitely understand that kind of, that viewpoint, and it definitely comes across a lot in this. But, there's a part of me that just kind of feels like that's just how a lot of these, especially, late 1950s, early 1960s kind of sci-fi movies, that's just the territory in the end. And, you almost have to look past it. That's just how the acting style was, to me, at least, as far as, of course I didn't exactly grow up watching 1950s and 1960s sci-fi, at the movie theater. But, that just seems to be how it was. Now, overall, I definitely agree with some of the previous people talking that some of the best showings that we saw was the airplanes. And, man, we had some beautiful airplanes, and weren't they just incredible? That's what I like to see in these kinds of movies. K5A&E, back to net.
Ooh, that was quick. Okay, well, we got you down. Next up, KI5KWG. Cruz, your thoughts on characterization and the acting in our fine film this evening.
KI5KWG. Yeah, it's kind of been said before by several of you, I think. Michael Rennie. Well, I think I'm going to go back to what, pardon me, involuntary reset there. I think I'm going to go back to what Brenda just said. Is with that list of that cast, I really expected a lot more, and then the question comes to mind is, what did Irwin Allen have over these actors? This was a film below, I think, pretty much all of them. And any one of those could turn a rough script into something pretty good, I think, if given the chance. And, Michael Rennie pretty much turned in a performance as I would expect of him. David Hedison, as soon as I saw him, I went, oh, isn't that guy from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea? And I thought he pretty much played the same sort of character I've seen him in before. Claude Rains, I think we all say, stands out, or as I wrote it in my notes, I was shocked to see him playing the professor. That was kind of wild, over the top, and I enjoyed that. I really did enjoy seeing him play that. So different from any other character I've seen him as. So, and as for the women, they weren't moving the plot forward. They were there to keep the interest, and that worked, as we often see in these 50s and 60s sci-fi things. I think that's all I've got on this. Oh, and I just got to, check the box, too, for the Connie and the Sikorsky. I enjoyed seeing those aircraft. KI5, KWG, back to net.
Very good. Thank you, Cruz. And okay, I'll say my piece on some of this. First off, on what Cruz said and what others have said, yeah, the aircraft stuff is really cool. The 707, the original C engines on there, is really wonderful. And then the Connie and LO-49 flying with TWA colors. I love that. That is pretty cool. Of course, the helicopter, yes. All good, positives. Even when the film is terrible, we do get our aircraft porn, which is always fun, and I know this group does like that. Let's see, the acting. Here's the thing. All of these people, most of them, in fact, not all, but most of them had worked for Irwin Allen at one time or another. Irwin has always picked these people as type. Obviously, you've got some really great people. Claude Rains, geez, he was in The Invisible Man, of course, and he was in Lawrence of Arabia. I mean, he's the first A-class guy. We've got Michael Rennie, who appeared in Day the Earth Stood Still, one of our favorite science fiction movies of all time. You've got David Hedison, who played, what was it, Victor, I think, in 2 of the Bond films, and then he was asked by Irwin Allen to be Captain Crane in the movie version of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, but he declined, which I never understood. And they brought in the beat list guy, and then he was asked again, and probably offered some money to do so for the television series. But all these guys play the type. It's to be expected, you know. How many times did Bettina Marcus play the exotic woman? All the time. Michael Rennie as the contemplative guy. Claude Rains is playing Claude Rains, which he does really well. With a few ancillary characters like Fernando Lamas, who was very much popular back then. All these characters were hired because, hey, they were really liked on screen. What pales is, of course, the script. If the script doesn't live up to expectations, then these characters' talents are wasted. These actors' talents are just being wasted on screen. And as try as they might to make it better and bigger than what it is, it's kind of hard to do, especially in a film like this. And because you have them on screen and you're paying them probably lots of money, you've got to give them a lot of screen time. And this is an ensemble cast, so everybody wants their little bit, their pound of flesh in the film. And I think that's probably why they had these very long, drawn-out dialogue pieces, is they were trying to give everybody the screen time that they wanted or deserved or had negotiated for the show, for the movie. So that's my speculation on all of that. Probably most of the money went to the actors that were in it. I don't know how much they made, but I'm sure that some made more than others. Okay, that's my story. Let's go to, we've got 20 minutes left. I think we can get through these. We're going to talk about special effects, or lack thereof. Ron, N5SQA, are you still out there? And can you give us your comments on special effects for The Lost World from KE5ICX?
Well, Tom, strangely enough, I'm still here. Thank you for letting me participate tonight. Special effects, the only one I mentioned earlier, the iguanas with stuff glued to them, which is cruel, and the log sticking into the burning rocks, that was dumb, and there's many other examples. And you're right about how all those actors kind of played sort of the same part back in those days, and I'm very fortunate to be able to, on occasion, hang out with actors these days who 1 month they're playing this part, and the next month they're playing some other part, and to see how they adapt to the range of humanity that they're portraying throughout the different gigs. That's fascinating to me. Shout out to Dallas Theater Center. Their current production, Clue, is hilarious. They're probably sold out, but if you can get a chance to go see that, it's awesome. That's enough from me. I am going to bed now. Carry on. N5SQA.
All right, thank you, Ron. And yeah, I've done that sort of thing too, not with the professionals like you, but amateur productions, and I have seen that where you see the way actors approach characters, and some of them just are very chameleon. They can go and become somebody completely different. They're actually the exception more than the rule. Most actors are played type, and they have certain qualities or attributes that directors are looking for, so they're called up by agents to say, hey, this is the perfect role for you. All right, next up, Bill, your comments on special effects. N5BB from KE5I6.
Oh boy, this is N5BB. Can we say lizards photographed up close with one area with the fighting lizards they must have made with some kind of models? But awful lot of lizards photographed up close. They didn't have to invent any dinosaurs. They just photographed lizards, which was a pretty cheap thing to do, but they did it. A lot of the other things were, I guess, okay for the time, but now look pretty cheesy, like the boiling lava thing. Oh, come on. That didn't look real to me. You know, all of the native people and the big groups inside the underground cavern doing all their stuff, that was kind of cheesy, but, you know, it photographed well, I thought. You know, they pulled it off. It looked like there were a lot of people there doing all those things and going through all those ceremonies, and so that's kind of, I guess, a special effect. But very cheesy, kind of corny by today's standards, of course, and stereotypical, probably. I mean, stereotyping them probably, but you know, they pulled it off. I mean, it looked okay. What else about the special effects? I guess not much. I mean, talking about the lizards and how they filmed all that is pretty boring because they didn't do a lot with it. So, you know, I wouldn't want to watch several movies in a row that were filmed this way, because there were a lot of movies filmed in the 50s and early 60s and this is kind of at the end of that period where they were just taking insects, you know, ants or cockroaches or spiders, and just photographing them and making them huge. That's what they thought it took to make a monster. Why aren't there any small monsters from back then? Why are all the monsters so huge? That's a good question. Other related things, I thought the music was kind of interesting. I think it added something to the movie. I talked again about Fernando Lamas appearing to play the guitar. I doubt he was really playing it, but appearing to play the guitar and the music there. That was kind of interesting. And there were some other musical things they threw in. And, of course, there were the natives with their drums. And so I think actually that the sound and music in it did add to the movie more than it distracted. For me, it was okay. I thought the cinematography was reasonably good. At least the print I saw was pretty sharp and good looking for a 1960 movie. And the quality of the lighting, you know, you could see everything. Some of these movies, you know, it's so dark you can't see anything. But these, you could see it, you know, whether it was underground or it was all filmed pretty nicely, and you could hear everything. So I think that the actually quality of the sound production and the cinematography and the camera work was, you know, okay. I guess that's it. Den 5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. Next up is Tony. You still there? You got anything you want to say? NT5TM from KE596.
Well, some historians say it should be called photomacrography instead of macrophotography, but either way, it was a bad special effect. In the few minutes I saw this movie, it was distracting and not helpful. Thank you for being here. I know this is the hardest net to stay coherent for because it's so late at night. I hope you sleep well. NT5TM.
Very good. Thank you, Tony. Thanks for participating, even if you didn't see the film. KG5BZWJ, your final comments? And they can be of anything, but special effects is the round, but whatever you want. Go ahead.
This is
KQ5BCW. Let's see. Yeah, there are some good aspects, but I think they've already been covered, so I'll just kind of nitpick them on a few things, I guess, or something. I have to admit there was this one scene where it was supposedly way past twilight at like 11 p.m. and it's like, I literally had to go back in the film to like back up. It's like, wait, did they really just say that this piece of film where it's clearly a dark filter put over the camera? Did they really say that's 11 p.m. at night? Like, that's awfully clear, even though it's dark. It's awfully. The effect just did not. I don't know what they could have done. I guess obviously you're not going to film actually at dark, so you're going to have a few whatever lights. They coincidentally happen to light up the actors for the dialogue and whatever, but no, this is just. Oh, man. I've seen dark scenes done a lot better than that in even older films. Granted, the one I'm thinking of is cannot think of titles right now, but it was Frank Capra's oh goodness, the Christmas classic, and those looked like actual night scenes. But anyway, I'm just getting myself distracted. What else? I mean, the lizards were clearly lizards, and the sound quality was okay. Just a comment a bit on that. Oh no, the set design for the system, I guess, stand pretty for what they did. It wasn't really too distracting, but the very clear ledge, which it's like okay, which the actors had to make like it was a lot more dangerous than it was. Whatever. Don't know. I just ended on that. KQ5BCW.
Thank you, Jay. Next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, we're talking about special effects and anything else you want to discuss about the film. Your parting thoughts, please, from KE5ICX. Uh-oh, she may have fallen asleep. I know she's in her chair right now, probably snoring. WB50ZL, Brenda, are you still out there?
I am here. Special effects, lizards. I mean, the whole thing is just so formulaic. It just didn't appeal to me at all. And I wouldn't recommend anybody over the age of 10 to watch it. Well, we're crowding 12 o'clock, and that's about all I have to say. So, WB50ZO, back to net.
Oh my, this group is crawling to the finish line. Well, we're almost done. K5A&E, Kane, your final thoughts on the Lost World and special effects and or anything you want to discuss. Go ahead.
So the special effects, this is exactly why I've been waiting out for this net and, this time to talk about this, because I really have to say, they really went above and beyond, in my opinion, for special effects in the 1960s, and especially 1960. When I first saw this movie, as far as the description of it, and thought, oh, they're going to have dinosaurs in 1960 on the screen. Oh, this is going to be great. Time for some rubber suits. This is going to be incredible. And what do you know? When I actually sat down and watched the movie, that was not what I saw. I really have to say, they did an excellent job, superimposing the lizards that they had dressed up. And they did a great job on, dressing up the lizards and bringing them into the scenes. And, just for 1960 technology, I can't really say 1960s because, honestly, special effects expanded greatly in that 1960, 1970 kind of time period. They did an incredible job on that, and it looked pretty good. I got to be honest with you. They did an excellent job having those lizards dressed up as dinosaurs and bring them into those scenes. And I will say, it probably wasn't very PETA approved, those lizards biting each other and throwing each other off the cliff, which I imagine was probably just a desk. And still, though, they did a really good job, although that was definitely not a T-Rex baby that they were pulling out of the egg there. That one was way too cheesy in the end. But hey, I can just imagine, everybody working on the special effects team, those people that were working on the special effects team for, say, Jurassic Park, as a child growing up and seeing such a scene and seeing that on, the screen and their TVs at home and thinking, wow, dinosaurs. They did a great job, and hats off to them. This is K5A&E, back to net.
Well, thank you, Keen, and I have some comments about that at the end. KI5KWG, Cruz, your thoughts on special thing else you want to add?
KI5KWG, two quick ones here for you, just because they hadn't been mentioned. There were some terrors that just were not terrorizing, in particularly the vines. Those vine scenes definitely belonged on the cutting room floor. They didn't work. They looked hokey. They took up an awful lot of film. Shouldn't have been there. The other part was me trying to imagine why this group of natives would have such a complex rite or liturgy for preparing to kill explorers who happen to have landed on their mesa in a helicopter. I'm picturing the shaman. Okay, turn to your pew missiles on page 523. Okay, now begin with the drums. It was like, this is kind of ridiculous, and I can't make it work in my head. That's all I had, but I had fun with that one. This is KI5KWG, back to net.
Oh, jeez, that is so funny. I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right. That's what it looked like. By the way, there's a scene in there where the drummer is drumming, and he has this wide girth that he's doing with the two, whatever he's using, the sticks he's using to drum. The drum is really tiny, and he's drumming like he's not even hitting the drum. It's very odd. Apparently the director, that would be Irwin Allen, said, make it look like it's a bigger drum. We can't afford a bigger drum. Just act. And that's exactly what he did. Now, I've got some comments on special effects. I agree with everything that everybody said. And I thought that overall it was somewhat convincing with the dinosaurs. He wanted to do stop action. They couldn't afford it. You got to remember, this is a time, I think they were working on Cleopatra. The movie came out in '64, but they were spending all the money to make that film, which is really just drained 20th Century Fox of all their money. Irwin Allen would have to deal with that later on with a couple of his television series, Lost in Space being one, where they suffered the fallout of a flop. So he was constantly being beat up, starting with this film on all the way through into the 1960s with trying to stay in the black with 20th Century Fox, even though it was not his fault or his doing. But one thing that was interesting about, I thought, I really found great, were the oversized sets of the cave. I really enjoyed that. It didn't make any real sense that the way they had it, but they built these beautiful, very large sets, multicolor because they're doing the cinemascope and that, and it just really looked good. Didn't make any sense that there was like fire coming out of some of these things. I guess they're trying to say that there was lava or something there, but it picturesque-wise, it was quite good. Another thing is the music. I agree. Paul Softell was a regular composer for Irwin Allen up until he got a guy named Johnny Williams that came in after Softell had pretty much retired. Softell is best known to all of you with the iconic Ping music from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, which, by the way, there was the score for that was written for the 4 seasons of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Johnny Williams, or later to be known as John Williams, wrote a new theme for the 2nd season, and Irwin hated it so much it only appeared in 1 episode, and they went back to the Paul Softell score. Softell himself had written for mostly B movies, but he'd written probably 75 scores, so even though he's not well known, he was very prolific, and he was very competent. I have a number of his scores, and I think that he was a wonderful composer and very underrated. So those 2 things I think really mattered in the film, and it helped to bring it up a little bit, but it was a bit of a turkey, and I can see where the limitations were, but that's kind of the way it is. All right, a couple of things I just wanted to mention. First off, I've got a PSA for you, a public service announcement. This is kind of off to the side, and I saved it till late at night. I want everybody to know that this month, the month of September, is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. This is a cancer that hits 1 in 8 men. Some of you know that I'm one of those guys. So I have been doing a fundraiser for the Prostate Cancer Foundation. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll find a public thing in there if you want to go ahead and contribute. I'm doing 108 miles. I'm about 60 miles in for this month for walking and running. I tried running. I'm too old for that, so I went back to walking. If you'd like to contribute, please do so there. You can just go ahead and use a credit card. So that's what I'm doing there. They are known for their outreach programs and that sort of thing. Also, guys, if you've not done it, I would highly recommend you go see your physician and get a checkup and blood test done. It's a very easy test to do, and your PSA should be between 0 and 4. If it's higher than that, then you need to have it looked into. Doesn't mean that it's cancer, but it could be. Okay, next week's movie. Everybody, write this down. Next week's movie, we're moving to the 1970s, actually the year 1970, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, folks. If you haven't seen the first one, there's a big spoiler at the very beginning of this one. But I figure if you've not seen the movie, you probably don't have a television or electricity in your home. So the big reveal at the end of that film is the beginning of Beneath the Planet of the Apes. It'll be next week's film. You can find all this information at the Facebook page, which is Afterglow Movie. That's 2 words, Afterglow and Movie, and sign up there. Or if you are out there and listening and you would like to join us sometime, but you don't like Facebook, just send me an email to KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, at yahoo.com, and I will put you on the list. And most people have done that, so they've got 2 places to find the information. I usually send it out Sunday sometime in the morning before I head off and do other things. I want to thank everybody who participated this evening. This was a lot of fun. I don't tell anybody that this is my favorite net. Of all the things, Skynet takes a lot of work. Just remembered we went on to off the thing, so I had to reset. Skynet takes a lot of work, but this is my favorite net. I really enjoy this one a lot. So I'm going to say 7-3 to everybody. Have a good evening. Go watch Space Circus, the Irwin Allen second season episode where everything gets really zany on Lost in Space. See you next time. This is KE5ICX. I am clear. Have a good rest of the weekend.